Dangerous storms are coming to the United States this week with damaging winds, large to very large hail, and tornadoes, and unfortunately more very heavy and torrential rainfall, which could cause some significant flash flooding throughout the week. We're going to be highlighting that. A major heat wave building across the south central United States, with heat at times moving up to the north, and the tropical weather update in this video. If you are new here and you're not subscribed to the channel, make sure you subscribe to the channel as we do daily weather forecast breakdowns. Like the video by giving it a thumbs up, share it with a friend, family member, or on social media. And if you have any comments, questions, concerns, jot that down in the comment section down below this video. We have an enhanced risk of severe weather today across South Dakota into Nebraska, where numerous severe thunderstorms are likely. Surrounding that in yellow, we have a slight risk of severe weather up into northwestern Minnesota, and as far south as eastern Colorado and western Kansas today, where scattered severe thunderstorms are likely. And then in the dark green, that is a marginal risk where isolated strong to severe thunderstorms are possible across a large chunk of the north central plains into the upper Midwest and across the Ohio River Valley up into the northeast this afternoon and this evening. The primary threat will be for intense damaging winds up to 80 miles per hour, especially where you see the outline in black here from South Dakota into much of Nebraska, eastern Colorado, and western Kansas. That could down tree limbs and even uproot some trees. Power lines could come down as well as power poles. So definitely watching out for that threat and the potential for some significant hail. This hail threat could be as big as baseball size from South Dakota into the panhandle in western Nebraska and northeastern Colorado this afternoon and evening. And this hail could definitely destroy vehicles, damage vehicles heavily. So make sure you have it under a carport or in a garage. Definitely helpful there as well. And then we have a formidable tornado threat. A 5% chance of tornadoes in the brown, and the green is a 2% chance of tornadoes within a 25-mile radius of any given location in or around this area, and includes portions of eastern South Dakota, much of Nebraska, including Lincoln over to North Platte and Hastings, and then down here into the Denver area as well. So let's look here at noon. We got a couple showers, thunderstorms across South Dakota. Unfortunately, yes, again, we have more heavy thunderstorms in central Texas, causing more significant flash flooding problems. That will be a problem down there throughout the day with a moderate risk for flash flooding. Severe thunderstorms are going to be an issue up here from Minnesota into South Dakota and Nebraska, where we could see some damaging winds over 75 miles per hour up to 80 miles an hour at times. Baseball size hail with the strongest storms, and a couple of tornadoes going into the late afternoon here and the early evening. And then these storms will be pressing further east, perhaps getting into western Iowa, eastern Nebraska, so Omaha, Des Moines, Ames, up here towards the Lincoln area. We have to watch out for this late evening into the overnight hours, and these could also produce some locally heavy downpours into the Kansas City area as we wake up here at pre-dawn on Tuesday morning. Here's the heavy rainfall we could be seeing. Omaha, Des Moines, Kansas City, some of the bigger cities in here, Lincoln, we could be seeing upwards to an inch and a half of rain with some of these storms, and that could cause some localized flash flooding out there. Unfortunately, our friends down here in the Lone Star State of Texas, central Texas that is, we could be seeing upwards to 6 or even 7 more inches of rain. And that is on top of just double-digit rainfall we've seen over the past couple of days. Very unfortunate down there, and my heart and prayers go out to everybody down there in Texas. Now, as we go into tomorrow on Tuesday, July 8th, we have another marginal risk from the Front Range into Colorado and New Mexico, eastward through the southern plains into the mid-Mississippi Valley region, where isolated strong to severe storms will be possible. St. Louis, Little Rock, up here into Oklahoma City, Tulsa, Wichita, back into Amarillo, Denver, and Albuquerque. You guys are all included. And then in the East Coast, we're watching areas of the I-95 corridor and the Mid-Atlantic coast, areas of New York City, Trenton, Philly, Baltimore, Washington, D.C., Roanoke, and Richmond, all the way down into Raleigh and Columbia, South Carolina. That's where isolated strong to severe storms will be as we go into tomorrow. Main threat will be damaging winds up to 60 miles per hour, but we could also see quarter-size hail. That is most probable from eastern Colorado into northeastern New Mexico and the Oklahoma-Texas panhandle. And thankfully tomorrow the tornado threat is very unlikely, less than 2% in all areas across the United States. So here we go into the central United States view. 7 a.m. on Tuesday, ongoing storms from tonight into tomorrow morning will continue, and those will be on a weakening trend as they approach the Mississippi River over here toward the Illinois Valley and the mid-Mississippi Valley. Additional storms will fire off in the afternoon, and unfortunately, again, yes, Texas, we will see some heavier severe thunderstorms going into the afternoon and evening. Thankfully, though, if there's any silver lining for Texas for storms tomorrow, they'll be more few and far between. They won't be as widespread and focused. They'll be kind of hit and miss across Texas. And then as we go into the overnight hours, the coverage and intensity of those storms down there in the southern plains will be waning as we lose the daytime heating. Into the eastern U.S. we go, 7 a.m., pretty quiet for the northeast and the mid-Atlantic outside of a area of drizzle or showers. As we go into the midday hours, we're going to start to see some isolated and widely scattered storms developing here into central and eastern Pennsylvania, western Maryland, into the panhandle of West Virginia, northern Virginia, and then as we go into the afternoon, maybe a line or cluster of storms approaching Trenton, New York City, and Long Island, down there into Dover, into Washington, D.C., Richmond and Roanoke, maybe as far south there as Raleigh and Columbia. We could be seeing some stronger thunderstorms, 60-mile-per-hour winds, some quarter-size hail, and a very low tornado risk. Locally heavy downpours will accompany these storms as well into the evening hours. And as we go into Wednesday, July 9th, marginal risk back up here into the Dakotas and into Nebraska again, and then another one over into the Carolinas and Virginia, up into Maryland, where we could see isolated strong to severe storms in both areas as we go into Wednesday. Looking here at Wednesday morning, again, we're seeing pretty quiet conditions as the afternoon. Peak daytime heating, where we're going to watch areas from the Delmarva all the way down here into the Carolinas, isolated to scattered strong to severe storms, and then isolated to scattered strong to severe storms up there into the Dakotas as well as we go especially into Wednesday evening. Now going into Thursday, we're going to see another disturbance surrounding that ridge up there again into the Dakotas, Nebraska, and into Minnesota, and that will prove potential for severe storms in similar areas again on Thursday, July 10th. Slight risk here with scattered severe thunderstorms possible from the central and eastern Dakotas into northwestern Minnesota and Nebraska, Fargo, Bismarck, you guys are all included, all the way down here into areas of Nebraska and northwestern Minnesota. And then going into Friday, July 11th and Saturday, July 12th, right now the Storm Prediction Center has predictability too low, but there will be a strong disturbance on Friday and Saturday that could spark more severe weather downstream into the Midwest, Great Lakes, and the Ohio Valley, and this could include threats for damaging winds, large hail, and a few tornadoes, in addition to some localized torrential downpours, which of course you know could cause some flooding out there. And then of course as we go into next week, we're going to be seeing another disturbance coming through with a cold front with more isolated to scattered severe weather from the upper Midwest and northern plains back into the central plains and the Great Lakes region early next week. Let's talk about the ridge of high pressure. Very strong down here in the desert Southwest. Will be kind of flexing its muscles a little bit, getting stronger by the middle of this week and then weakening a little bit as we go into the end of the week, as we have frequent cold fronts knocking down the heat across the northern U.S., and then it'll come right back as we go into early next week across the south central U.S., and eventually by the middle of next week, the heat really could start building across the eastern U.S. as well. But for today, 90s, mid-90s that is, across the southeast. We got 70s and 80s into the upper Midwest, 110 in Phoenix, and as we go into tomorrow, look at that, 112 in Phoenix heating up. Frequent cold fronts will bring a relief of heat to the upper Midwest, the Great Lakes, and the Ohio Valley, as well as over into the Northeast as we go through this week. There will be a couple periods of some heat with 80s and 90s, and then we'll have a cold front come through and drop us into the 70s and 80s with lower humidity. That's just kind of the theme as we go through the week here this week. Of course, the heat will be really prominent across the southern United States throughout the week, so make sure to stay hydrated if you venture outdoors, have any errands to run, or work outdoors. Frequent breaks in the shade or air-conditioned rooms, very, very important. Now, let's look here at the tropics. We are actually seeing post-tropical cyclone or remnants of Chantal across the mid-Atlantic coast here on this Monday, and we are actually seeing some heavier rainfall continue for the mid-Atlantic, and that continues really over the next 12 to 24 hours. That could bring some heavy rainfall to Maryland and portions of Delaware up into Jersey, eastern Virginia as well included, potentially up to 3 or 4 more inches of rain there, which could cause some localized flooding there, again, over the next 12 to 24 hours. As far as the other side, the East Pacific is concerned, low potential of any system developing, 20-30% here, 2 potential disturbances over the next 5 to 7 days, and right now the next 2 names would be Gil and Henriette, and right now they're very low potential of developing. There's a little bit more wind shear in the East Pacific here this week, which could limit that, and also the trajectory of this westward. The faster it moves west, it's going to be moving into some cooler waters over here, so probably even less likely than the systems we've seen before that, but definitely keeping an eye on that, that is for sure. And finally, to round out the video, here's your fire weather outlook for today on Monday, July 7th. Dry thunderstorm risk there from southwestern southern Oregon into northern California. Could spark some new fires out there with lightning. And then going into tomorrow, dry thunderstorms in central Oregon with an elevated fire weather risk from eastern and central Washington state into northern Oregon and into Nevada into western Utah. And then finally on Wednesday, elevated fire weather concerns for a large chunk of Nevada and southwestern Utah there. So make sure you're mindful of that. If you're having any controlled burns out there, campfires or anything like that, make sure you're mindful that fires, if they get out of hand, they could get out of hand very quickly, and we don't want that to happen. So thank you all for watching. I definitely appreciate it. If you did enjoy the video, make sure first and foremost subscribe to the channel so you get more of these videos in the future. Turn on post notification bell so you're notified for future videos and live streams. Like the video, give it a thumbs up if you did enjoy it. Share it with a friend, family member on social media, and if you have any comments, questions, and concerns, jot that down in the comment section down below this video. Thank you all for watching and have a wonderful rest of your Monday out there.